All right. So the last section, we were converting rectangular equations to polar form. Now this section, we are converting polar sections to rectangular form. And once again, what we're trying to do, yes, David? Just stretching, okay. So once again, we have to be very aware of our conversion formulas. X is equal to r times the cosine of theta. Y is equal to r times the sine of theta. R squared equals to x squared plus y squared. R is equal to the square root of x squared plus y squared. The tangent of theta is equal to 1 over x. And theta is equal to the inverse tangent of y over x. And once again, our goal is to manipulate our equations so we can get it into these different types of conversion formulas so we can directly apply. And one thing what I can do to each side of the equation for 21 is multiply each side by r so I can get things in the form of my conversion formulas. So if I multiply my left term by r and my right term by r times r is r squared. All right, I multiply r by 3 sine of theta, and that becomes 3r sine of theta. So by multiplying each side by r, I was able to get r squared is equal to 3r sine of theta. Okay, now r squared is equal to x squared plus y squared. That's one conversion formula method. And then 3r sine of theta is going to be equal to 3, and r sine of theta is y. Okay? So now I can get everything on one side. So let's pair the 3y with the y squared. And I can write x squared plus y squared minus 3y is equal to 0. And what I can do at this point is I can turn this into the general form of a circle. So x squared plus y squared minus 3y, and to get this into a standard form of the circle, I'm going to have to complete the square. All right. So I'm going to have to complete the square, plus my complete the square term is going to be equal to 0 plus my complete the square term. So I need to complete the square. All right, when you complete the square, I have negative 3y. So my coefficient, my b term for my y term is negative 3. I have negative 3. I divide it by 2, which is going to be negative 1.5. And negative 1.5 squared is going to be negative 1.5 squared. So that will be positive 2.25. Because if I put the negative 1.5 in parentheses, it would be positive. So that's going to be positive 2.25. So I'm ultimately going to get x squared plus y. The second term for completing the square was negative 1.5 minus 1.5 squared is equal to 2.25. All right? Because negative 1.5 all in parentheses squared is 2.25. And this shows a circle with the center of 0. So the center is 0, 1.5, and the radius is the square root of 2.25. So that is our circle, and this is our polar equation. So this is actually a polar circle right here. R is equal to 3 times the sine of theta. All right. 22. Theta is equal to 7 pi over 6. All right. So theta is equal to 7 pi over 6. And what we can do is we can take the tangent of both sides. So when you just have an angle, you can take the tangent of both sides. So we can say that the tangent of theta is equal to the tangent of 7 pi over 6. All right. So now when the tangent of theta equals the tangent of 7 pi over 6, we know the tangent of theta is y over x. So y over x is going to be equal to the tangent of 7 pi over 6. So the tangent of 7 pi over 6 from the unit circle is going to be root 3 over 3. Now, if you don't have your unit circle memorized, what you can do is you can find in radian mode, find the tangent of 7 pi divided by 6. That's going to be equal to 5.77. The square root of 3 divided by 3, also 5.77. So that should help prove to you that they're equivalent. All right, y over x is equal to root 3 over 3. And then multiply each side by x. And y is equal to root 3 over 3 times x. All right, now hopefully this should be looking a little bit familiar with problem 19. Yep, going back to 22. All right. So the x's cancel, and on the left side, the x's cancel out here. So y is equal to root 3 over 3x. All right. 23, r is equal to 8 times the cosecant of theta. All right. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit so I can get a little bit more writing space. All right, for 23, r is equal to 8 times the cosecant of theta. And what I can do is that I can rewrite cosecant of theta as 1 over the sine of theta. And in general, you want to write things in terms of sine and cosine. So r is equal to 8 times 1 over the sine of theta. So that means r is equal to 8 over the sine of theta. Okay, now I multiply each side by the sine of theta. And I can get the r sine of theta is equal to 8. All right, now r sine of theta, this is equal to y. This means y is equal to 8. Okay? So y is equal to 8. That means this is going to be a horizontal line, right? So if you have a y equals to 8, that means we are at a horizontal line right here. So this is a horizontal line in polar form, and we converted it into rectangular form. Y equals 8, that's our answer. With 24, r is equal to 1 over the cosine of theta plus the sine of theta, okay? So here we can have the term that x plus y is equal to 1. So if we So our first step is to multiply each side by cosine of theta, sine of theta. So if we multiply the left side by cosine of theta, sine of theta, and the right side by cosine of theta, sine of theta, you will have r times the cosine of theta plus the sine of theta equals 1. So our first step was to multiply each side by the cosine of theta plus the sine of theta. All right. Now we can distribute our r. So when we distribute our r, we will get r cosine of theta plus r sine of theta is equal to 1. All right. When r cosine of theta and r sine of theta equals 1, r cosine of theta stands for x, r sine of theta stands for y, and that's going to be equal to 1. If x plus y is equal to 1, that means y is equal to negative x plus 1. And then that is a linear equation where you have a slope of negative 1 and a y-intercept of positive 1. All right. All right. So let's do 25 now. All right, so let's do 25. All right, what are the rectangular coordinates of the center circle graphed by the polar equation r cosine of theta minus 6 times the sine of theta? So we have to convert this polar circle into a rectangular circle. And when we convert the polar circle to a rectangular circle, then we find the center. Yes, David? You know how to do this?
Yeah.
All right, so that means we're going to do this step by step, and you're going to help me out, okay? All right, so so David, what did you do for your first step?
Put r squared, put the second power to r.
All right, so what David did for his first step is he multiplied both sides by r. So he multiplied the right side by r, and he multiplied the left side by r. So what's r times r, David?
R squared.
R squared. And when you distribute the r, what did you get on the right side?
2r cosine
2r cosine
theta.
of theta.
Minus
6r sine of theta. Very good. All right. Now, are there any polar to rectangular conversions we can make here?
Yeah.
Yes. What are those conversions going to be? What can we turn r squared into?
X squared plus y squared.
So r squared is x squared plus y squared. All right. That's equal to 2. What does r cosine of theta turn into?
2x.
Right. And what does r sine of theta turn into?
R sine
If-
of theta.
Minus 6y, right? Because r cosine of theta is x and r sine of theta is y. Now we need to combine our x's and our y's and have it all set it all equal to 0. So we can rearrange this term as x squared minus 2x plus y squared minus 6y. This is going to be equal to 0. All right? And now we're going to have to expand it so that we're completing the square. So we're going to have... Yes. Yes. Plus 6y. Good catch. All right? So we're going to have x squared minus 2x plus r, complete the square term, plus y squared plus 6y plus our complete the square term is going to be equal to 0 plus both complete the square terms. Alright, so first we complete the square for the x's. We're going to have negative 2 divided by 2. That's equal to negative 1. Negative 1 squared is positive 1. So our first complete the square term is 1. For our y term, our b term is 6. So we're going to have 6 divided by 2 is 3. That's our first complete square term. We square 3, that's going to give us 9. So we're going to have 9 in each for our second complete square term. Alright, our x term is going to factor into x plus our first process of our complete the square term. So x plus negative 1 means that's going to be x minus 1 squared plus y plus 3 squared, because our first process of completing the square term was 3. Y plus 3 squared is going to be equal to 1 plus 9 is going to be equal to 10. Alright? So from this circle, what's the center? So our center is 1, negative 3. And our radius? Our radius is root 10. Alright. Okay. That's all the polar section of the Common Assessment Review packet. Question? Yes. Alright.
Can you do 76?
Alright.